Discover the incredible 3-year journey of hidden love that transformed 2 lives forever. In the slow-paced town of Crestwood, every eye was on Sarah. As a single mother juggling 2 grueling jobs at the local grocery store, her life danced between the mundane and the extraordinary. Each morning, she donned her worn apron and plastered on a smile for her 8-year-old son, Ben. Yet beneath her facade lay silent burdens simmering just under the surface, shades of distant love, impending bills, and waves of judgment from her traditional mother. Her heart, once vibrant, was now filled with echoing doubts. She loved fiercely but feared love would only add to her chaos and sorrow. Across the way, David, the tender-hearted war veteran with stormy eyes, caught glimpses of Sarah's smile as she greeted customers. The world often seemed grey to him, a constant reminder of his past, yet when he saw her, sparks flickered in the shadows of his heart. Their exchanges, brief and electric, hinted at something deeper, but fear danced between them like an uninvited guest. The whispers of community disapproval lingered in the air, and they each carried their own ghosts. David felt undeserving of her warmth, she felt shackled by family expectations, but when a fierce storm descended upon Crestwood, everything changed. The relentless rain turned streets into rivers, swallowing homes and plucking away the livelihoods that had defined their lives. Shouts pierced the chaotic air as neighbors banded together to rescue what they could. Sarah, with her heart racing, fear etched on her face, helped others retreat from the rising waters. And there, through the darkness and desperation, David emerged. Together, they dug through soaked debris, their hands entwined with purpose, their hearts beating in time. In those moments, amid the fear, a connection blossomed, a raw understanding that they were not defined by their pasts but by their actions now. As they worked side by side, Sarah saw a new depth to David. He wasn't just the quiet man, he was a rock, firm under pressure, offering solace amidst their torn lives. An electric energy surged between them, deeper and more profound than they had dared to imagine. A simple glance became a silent pact, an unspoken promise of acceptance. Just when everything felt like it might change for the better, her mother's voice sliced through the harmony. "Sarah, you can't pursue this. He's not the right man for you." The pain in her mother's voice combined with the worries of a thriving community, which echoed judgment, pulling Sarah in 2 directions. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amidst the wreckage of Frenchtown Square, hope flickered like a candle in an unforgiving storm. As they stole a moment together, bent down beside a cracked sidewalk, the warmth of each other's presence felt like home. The scent of rain melded with blooming resilience. Together, they mused over rebuilding lives rather than merely existing. But the echoes of destruction surrounded them, and as they leaned in closer, the sound of a crumbling building rumbled ominously in the distance, forcefully reminding them of the unresolved shadows nipping at their heels. Would they conquer the tides of affection against their family's warnings, or would their budding love drown in the floods of their past? The days that followed the storm felt both heavier and lighter. As Crestwood began piecing itself back together, Sarah found herself caught in an emotional whirlwind. Each morning, she still donned that worn apron, enveloped in the comforting rhythm of her jobs. But now, her heart pulsed with a resonance she hadn't expected. It was a heartbeat ignited by David, a quiet thread of exhilaration shimmering beneath her usual routine. She thought about their brief moments together, how a little brush of his hand sent shivers down her spine. The memory warmed her like the mid-morning sun breaking through a cloud. But then came the weight of her mother's words, echoing in her mind like a haunting refrain. "He's not the right man for you." Each syllable dug deeper into her sense of self, igniting her fears all over again. One afternoon, she swept through the aisles of the grocery store, stacking cans with a mechanical focus. As she worked, shadows of worry danced across her thoughts. Could she really entertain a relationship with David? What if it just led to heartache? She glanced up to see him standing by the dairy section, his silhouette framed against the light pouring in through the store's big glass windows. He looked hopeful, even through the weight of unspoken words lingering in the air. "Hey, Sarah," he said, his voice warming the chill that had settled over her heart. "You holding up okay?" I'm managing," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It felt as if she was admitting something profound. Her heart skipped as she noticed a hint of concern etched in David's expression. They stole a quiet moment together in that brightly lit store, the world around them fading. "I can't shake the feeling that we're meant to help each other," he said, his eyes locked onto hers. "I know it's messy, but sometimes that's how the most beautiful things grow." Sarah felt torn. The weight of her mother's expectations, her fears, and the community's judgment clashed with David's gentle insistence. Could she allow herself to hope? To love? "People will talk," she admitted, her eyes clouded with worry. "What if they're right?" "They don't live our lives," he countered softly, reaching out, but hesitating. "They can't understand our struggles. All those barriers don't define us, Sarah. We do." As the words washed over her, something deep within stirred. His faith in her felt like a liberating embrace, pushing against the chains of doubt. Could a love marked by scars heal these wounds? Her resolve wavered as she wrestled with familiar fears. I'm afraid," she finally confessed, the words barely escaping her lips. David moved a step closer, careful yet steadfast. "I know. But sometimes, taking that first step into the unknown is where the magic lies. Let me help you find it." Their eyes held everything unspoken between them, hope, dreams, and fears. Sarah's heart raced as she realized this was the moment of breaking point. She felt the stirring of possibility, like the first bloom after the harshest winter, but the weight of reality loomed larger than ever, a reminder that loving him might mean defying everything she knew: her mother, the town, and her own reservations. She opened her mouth to respond, only to be interrupted as a loud crash echoed from the back of the store. Panic seized the moment, sending both of them into a rush of adrenaline. "Let's check it out," he urged, determination flashing across his face. As they hurried toward the sound, Sarah's heart raced not only from fear but from the unmistakable thrill of uncertainty. Did danger lurk in the shadows, or were they just on the brink of finding the courage to love? And as the chaos unfolded, both felt drawn deeper into an unpredictable tide, not just the literal ones that once threatened their homes but perhaps something much more profound. Would they find the strength to navigate this new storm together, or would their path grow even more convoluted? The sound of shattering glass echoed across the grocery store, followed by muffled voices. David looked at Sarah, urgency sparking in his eyes. "Stay here," he said, his voice firm but his grip on her hand hesitant. "No. I'm coming with you," she replied, determination flooding her chest. The moment felt surreal, as if fear and adrenaline had bound them together in an unbreakable bond. So, they moved forward together, weaving through the aisles that now felt unfamiliar, like a labyrinth of uncertainty. As they approached the back, Sarah could see a small group gathering. An overturned shelf lay strewn about, cans rolling across the floor like errant marbles. Someone had tripped, spilling the contents all around, but the chaos was quickly turning into concern. The store manager knelt beside a woman, his face pale as he examined her ankle. "Someone call for help." Sarah heard him shout over the din. The gravity of the situation swept through the crowd, murmurs of worry spiraling. David squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, pulling her toward the woman. "Can we help?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Just stay back, please," the manager barked. Sarah's heart sank, a wave of helplessness washing over her. All she could do was watch as the scene unfolded, her instincts screaming to help. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I'm a certified first aider," she said, surprising even herself with her sudden courage. The manager turned to her, relief flashing through his eyes. "Okay, can you check her ankle?" With David's supportive presence at her side, they knelt together. Sarah carefully assessed the injured woman, her heart racing, but her hands steady. "You'll be okay," she said softly, reassuring the woman as she examined the swollen joint. David passed her gauze and ice from a nearby freezer, doing everything he could to help. In that moment, as they worked in harmony amidst the chaos, Sarah felt a newfound strength building inside her. Perhaps love wasn't just about the thrill, maybe it was also about helping each other through the storms of life, both big and small. When the sirens of an approaching ambulance filled the air, the tension eased slightly, but the ache of uncertainty lingered. Sarah and David exchanged glances, a shared understanding blossoming without words. They weren't just two individuals caught in their own lives. At that moment, they became a team, united by purpose and compassion. As the paramedics arrived, she stood, brushing her hands on her apron, filled with a mix of emotions. It was terrifying, this passion she felt for David, the strong pull toward him when she least expected it. But beneath the fear, there was a spark of something beautiful, and she couldn't shake it. They gathered their breath, stepping back as the crowd began to disperse. But as she looked up at David, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face too. Everything they shared was now tinged with an intensity that threatened to overpower them. "Are you okay?" he asked, genuine concern etching his features. "Yeah, I don't know," she admitted, a hint of vulnerability escaping. "Let's talk when it's quieter," he suggested, his eyes pleading for understanding. But even as he spoke, she realized they were standing at a crossroads. One path led back to safety, into the familiar arms of routine, while the other loomed ahead, shrouded in uncertainty but glimmering with possibility. What if stepping into that uncertainty could lead them to something incredible, unlike anything they had faced before? As the day wore on, Sarah's heart echoed with newfound questions. Could she truly open herself to this connection, risking it all for love? And as she searched David's gaze, she felt the thrill of it all swell. "Let us go," she finally replied, a sense of adventure lighting her eyes, but where would this newfound courage lead them next? David took a deep breath as they stepped outside the grocery store, the warm afternoon air washing over them like a calming tide. The chaos inside began to fade away, leaving behind an echo that mirrored their racing hearts. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the parking lot. "So where to next?" David asked, a hint of nervous excitement lingering in his voice. The weight of their previous moment hung in the air, an unspoken invitation to embark on a new adventure. Sarah bit her lip, glancing back at the entrance, where the remnants of the emergency still buzzed with activity. She felt energized, even as uncertainty flickered in her chest. "I don't know," she admitted, "but let us drive. I could use a change of scenery." David nodded, leading her to his car. The familiar contours of the vehicle felt oddly comforting, an anchor in the sea of unpredictability. As they settled inside, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of energy between them. Something was stirring, more significant than the chaos they had just witnessed. "Where do you want to go?" David asked, starting the engine. "Anywhere. Just somewhere we can talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. With that, they drove off, the city falling away as they sought a quieter space. The streets were alive with evening lights, but the world outside blurred as their focus turned inward. Each turn of the wheel echoed their uncharted emotions, spinning stories that begged to be told. As they arrived at a small park, David parked under a sprawling tree, the branches whispering secrets around them. They got out and walked toward a secluded bench, where the chaos of the world melted into the background. The dim light from the nearby lamppost cast a gentle glow around them, and for the first time, they were alone and free to explore the weight of their emotions. "Do you think we did enough back there?" David asked, breaking the silence. Sarah shook her head. "There's never enough you can do in an emergency. But we showed up, we tried." She turned to him, determination flickering in her eyes. "And that's what matters." David nodded, the corner of his mouth lifting into a soft smile. "You were incredible back there. You really stepped up. I mean, not everyone can keep it together in a situation like that." Suddenly his gaze turned serious, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words. You have a way of making things feel right, Sarah. Even when it seems like everything is falling apart. Her heart raced at the vulnerability that hung between them. I didn't know I had it in me, she confessed, her voice catching in her throat. But when I looked at you I felt like I could do anything. David's expression softened, and with a deep breath, he leaned closer. What if we tried to figure this out together? Whatever this is. I can't shake the feeling that there is something special happening between us. Are you sure? This might be crazy, she cautioned, yet a smile crept onto her lips. Let us be a little crazy, then. Let us see where it takes us, he said, eyes shimmering with hope. In that moment, it felt like an invisible thread bound them together, a connection deeper than either had anticipated. Just as Sarah was about to respond, a distant shout echoed through the park, breaking their reverie. They both turned to see a group of kids playing nearby, laughter ringing like sweet music. I guess life goes on, huh? Sarah remarked, her heart still racing. Yeah, and maybe we're just beginning, David said, a newfound thrill lighting up his face. As they exchanged glances, the question lingered in the air, were they ready to take that leap together? Let us go, Sarah finally said, her adventurous spirit igniting anew. But where would their choices lead them next? What uncertainties lay ahead on this unexpected journey? David felt a surge of adrenaline at Sarah's words. It was as if they had opened a door to a realm where possibilities danced around them, waiting to be explored. He took her hand, and they moved away from the park bench, leaving behind the buzz of children laughing and their own tangled thoughts. What do you want to do first? He asked, looking into her bright eyes, his heart thumping like a drum. Sarah tilted her head. Let us go to the riverfront. I want to see the water as the sun sets. It always feels like magic with the sky glowing and the water shimmering. Sounds perfect, he replied, his voice filled with enthusiasm. They hopped back into the car, the engine's hum resonating with the energy coursing between them. As they drove, the evening enveloped them, shadows stretching across the pavement. David fought back his want to ask more about the feelings swirling in his heart. Instead, he focused on the cityscape outside, the bright lights reflecting on the windshield as if illuminating the path ahead. Pulling up to the riverfront, they found their way to a quiet spot by the water, the sun dipping low and painting the sky in swirls of orange and purple. The serene sound of the waves lapping against the bank felt soothing, as if the entire world was breathing with them. Wow, Sarah breathed, taking it all in. It's beautiful. Like you, he said without thinking, the words spilling out before he could stop them. The moment hung, electric and fragile, her cheeks flushed, and she turned to him, surprise and delight flickering in her expression. You really think so? I do. You have this light about you. It's refreshing. His voice softened. And it's been there since I met you. Her smile widened, catching him off guard. She stepped a little closer, and he could feel the warmth radiating from her. The river mirrored the sky, glistening with reflections that danced as they whispered secrets to each other. David, she started, her voice becoming serious, this is new for me. I don't want to rush anything. But I can't deny that I feel something. Something strong. I feel it too. It's like coming home. He offered, searching for the right words. They locked eyes, and he felt like fate hung between them, waiting for a nudge to tip the scales. As they talked, the conversations flowed timid admissions about their dreams, hopes, and fears. Each word was a layer stripped away, revealing the core of who they were. But just as they began to lose themselves in their shared vulnerabilities, a small commotion nearby drew their attention. A couple was arguing loudly, their voices carrying over the gentle sounds of nature. It was a harsh reminder that their moment was fragile, that the outside world still lingered. Their gazes shifted from the ruckus back to each other, and Sarah fidgeted. You think it's weird to want to escape everything for a while? Not weird at all. Sometimes you need to break free to find clarity, David replied, squeezing her hand. It's okay to seek refuge in someone. For a moment, Sarah seemed reassured, her tension easing. It was then they shared a quiet laugh, the echoes of the argument fading into the background. But as the sun dropped below the horizon, another thought crept into Sarah's mind, overshadowing their joy. What if we take that leap and it doesn't work out? She asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Then we'll still have each other. No matter what happens, we'll navigate it together. David's words hung heavy in the air, a promise wrapped in uncertainty. As twilight settled around them, the question lingered between them: could they truly embrace this connection and face whatever storm came their way? The night was alive with potential, but would they have the courage to seize it? Let's just take it one step at a time, Sarah finally suggested, a tentative smile forming. Deal, David replied, feeling imbued with hope. Just then, the ground beneath them trembled. The sounds of chaos broke through the tranquility once more, this time louder and more concerning. What was happening now? Their hearts raced anew, pushing them into yet another uncharted territory. What awaited them beyond the horizon, and would it push or pull them closer together? David's eyes darted to the rippling water, and then back to Sarah. The ground felt alive beneath them, a subtle echo of the tension brewing in the air. He took a step closer to her, instinctively wanting to shield her from whatever chaos lurked beyond the riverbank. Let us find out what is going on, he suggested, the determination in his voice barely masking the unease that settled in his stomach. They quickly moved toward the sounds of shouting and commotion, the peaceful beauty of the river seeming to fade as they stepped into the fray. The nearby crowd had gathered, faces painted with concern and curiosity. David's heart raced as he scanned the scene. It was a mishmash of people reacting to a situation that felt larger than them both. A young man stood at the center, shouting at another who appeared to be trembling, eyes wide with fear. You think you can just walk away? We're not done here. The tension was palpable, a live wire ready to snap. Sarah's grip tightened around David's hand. The way she leaned slightly into him felt like both a plea for comfort and a shared heartbeat in the storm. What do you think happened? She whispered, keeping her voice low, almost drowned out by the rising shouts of the two arguing. I don't know, but we should be careful, he replied, glancing at her before refocusing on the confrontation. The air was thick with emotion, fear, anger, and even something akin to desperation. In the backdrop, faces flickered with anxiety, and murmurs of speculation rippled across the crowd. Stop it. Another voice broke through the chaos, a woman pleading as she stepped forward. This isn't helping anyone. Her words hung in the air like a heavy fog, and for a split second, the argument paused, the tension lessened and morphed into a disquiet murmur. David drew in a deep breath. Maybe we should try to get some distance, he said, dragging Sarah back slightly. We came here for the sunset, right? She nodded, her eyes drifting over the scene, the worry etched across her face. Right. But what if someone gets hurt? Shouldn't we do something? Sometimes being far away gives you perspective. David felt the weight of her worry. We can help by staying safe. Plus, I'd rather be with you back there where it's calm, where we can just be. They stepped back further down the riverbank away from the noise, returning to the half-light of twilight where the world felt manageable again. David held her gaze, wanting to erase the hint of fear that had momentarily clouded her bright eyes. As they settled near the water's edge, the sky above hummed with a palette of violets and deep blues. David took a moment, letting the beauty of the scene seep in, while Sarah seemed lost in thought, the distant shouts now softened in the background. Do you think love is like this? She mused, staring into the distance. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes chaotic, but always mixed together. He pondered her words, feeling the depth of that thought burrow into his heart. Yeah, he replied slowly. And you know what makes it stronger? Facing the chaos together. Sarah turned to him slowly, her expression a mixture of awe and uncertainty. Do you really think we're strong enough for it? I do, he said firmly, allowing his heart to solidify that promise. The lingering tension from the argument faded, replaced by a more profound question echoing in the quiet around them. What would they face together in the future? Just then, a loud crash from the commotion behind them jolted them both. David shot a glance back as sirens began to wail in the distance, a siren's song pulling them back to reality. "Let us head back," he urged, pushing to his feet, sensing that the moment had shifted again. "There's more happening. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." As they turned to leave, uncertainty looming like an unexpected storm, he felt the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Would they be ready to embrace each other, carry the burdens ahead, and build a love that could withstand anything? With every step, they left behind the chaos and ventured back into the unknown. Their resolve shaking yet resolute. And as new questions formed, the sirens echoed a warning in the air, underscoring how unpredictable the night would truly be. What awaited them just beyond the next bend? David and Sarah moved away from the chaos, the sirens shrieking like banshees behind them. Each step felt heavy, the pressing gravity of uncertainty weighing them down. They walked in silence for a moment, but the distance between them felt charged, like the air before a storm. "What do you think is happening back there?" Sarah finally broke the quiet, glancing over her shoulder, a flicker of worry in her eyes. "I don't know, but it doesn't feel good," David admitted, the knot in his stomach tightening. "We should stay focused on us for now. Let us just take a moment." He found a smooth rock to sit on, and Sarah settled next to him. The river flowed steadily nearby, the sound soothing yet eerie against the backdrop of unresolved turmoil. The colors of the sunset had morphed into deep shades of navy and purple, shadows creeping in like the specter of worry, and he felt a chill in the air that had nothing to do with the temperature. "We should have done something," Sarah said, frustration flaring in her voice. "What if someone gets hurt?" "Sometimes, we have to protect ourselves first," David replied, meeting her gaze. "You know that, right? It's not about running away, it's about knowing when to step back. We can't fix everything." Her brows furrowed, and he could see the struggle within her between the urge to take action and the instinct to keep them safe. "But does that mean we just stand by when things are falling apart?" "No," he said softly, feeling the weight of her concern. "But there are ways to make a difference without losing yourself in the chaos. It's about finding balance." They both fell silent, the heartbeat of nature around them filling the spaces where words could not touch. "Do you think chaos can ever lead to something good?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if she feared the answer. David thought for a moment, taking in the scene around them. The river, usually a symbol of tranquility, had moments of turbulent rapids, yet somehow, it always found its way back to peace. "It can," he replied slowly. "Maybe it's a bit like love. It can surprise you, shift your perspective. But you've got to be willing to ride out the storm." Sarah looked out at the water, and David could feel her processing the weight of his words. A soft smile began to form on her lips, and he couldn't help but feel grateful that she understood the complexity of the feelings they shared. "Being with you makes the chaos seem less scary," she said, the words washing over him like a warm tide. "I feel like, together, we could face just about anything." David nodded. "That's what it's all about. Life's unpredictable, and it can throw a lot at us. But with you beside me, I think we can navigate through the darkest waters." Just then, a group of people rushed past them, their worried faces lit by the fading glow of the sunset. David and Sarah exchanged glances, concern threading its way through the brief moment of connection they had shared. "What do you think we should do now?" Sarah asked, the urgency returning to her voice. David felt the tension creeping back in. The unknown called to them with a vibrating pulse, and he recognized the fear that rippled through her. It was the same fear he felt, but perhaps now, it was tempered by a sense of shared purpose. "We should check in, see if we can help. But let us keep our distance until we know it's safe." With heavy hearts yet resolute spirits, they stood and began to walk back toward the chaos, the river whispering to them as they approached the tumult once again. As they neared the gathered crowd, believing they were stepping into the realm of uncertainty. David felt the undeniable truth unfolding. This was just the beginning of a path that could change everything. And that path opened before them, incrementally shifting between light and dark. What awaited them in the heart of the mess rekindled a flicker of fear and excitement. Would they emerge stronger, or would it push them to their limits? The crowd surged ahead, a chaotic river of people fraught with emotion. David and Sarah followed, their hearts pounding in sync with the pounding footsteps around them. The chaos felt overwhelming, as if it thrummed in the air like a live wire. "What is going on?" Sarah's voice trembled, barely breaking the shouts and cries that echoed through the gathering. David couldn't answer. He was scanning the faces for any sign of familiarity, any clue as to what had ignited this unrest. As they moved closer, they caught snippets of conversation, frantic exchanges filled with anxiety and fear. "Fire," someone shouted. There was a fire downtown. The realization struck them like a cold wave. Unthinkable destruction had erupted while they'd been making their escape. David's stomach turned. "We have to help," he said, urgency lacing his words. He looked at Sarah, her expression a mix of determination and fear. "We can't stand by now, not when people need us." It felt as if the ground beneath them was shifting, and the whispers of fear ignited a resolve he didn't fully understand. Together, they forged ahead, stepping into the fray. The crowd parted like a curtain, revealing the chaos in vivid detail. In the distance, flames licked the sky, and thick black smoke billowed into the air, blotting out the last glimmers of twilight. Sirens wailed relentlessly, creating an eerie soundtrack to the madness unfolding around them. David could see firefighters already on the scene, their silhouettes moving against the blaze, shadows in the flickering light. "Over there!" Sarah shouted, pointing toward a small gathering near a barricade. A couple of citizens were helping an elderly man, his hands trembling as he coughed heavily from the smoke. Without a second thought, David rushed over, with Sarah close behind. "Sir, can you stand?" he asked, his tone gentle yet firm as he crouched beside the man. The guy shook his head, eyes wide with fear and confusion. "It's too much," the man croaked. "I can't breathe with me," David said, echoing the breathing techniques they had learned in yoga classes. "In through your nose, out through your mouth." Struggling with rising panic, David focused on guiding the man as if the rhythm could calm not only him but also his own racing heart. As Sarah moved swiftly to grab some water from nearby, David's eyes darted through the crowd, assessing the chaos. Every face he caught radiated varying degrees of terror and hope, confusion and clarity. The power of collective fear was palpable, but so was the urge to help, to connect in ways that transcended their individual struggles. "Here." Sarah returned, water in hand, urgency highlighted on her face. They offered it to the man, who took a hesitant sip before managing a grateful, albeit shaky, nod. "Thank you," he murmured, voice cracking. Just then, a shout erupted behind them. A group of teenagers were running past, their expressions twisted with panic. "We need to get people out. The building's gonna collapse." David's heart sank. The hunger to help morphed into fear anew. "You hear that?" he whispered to Sarah, gripping her hand tightly. "We can't stay here. We need to guide people away from danger." She met his gaze, fear mirroring in her eyes but gradually melting into a fierce resolve. "Let us go." As they jumped back into the torrent of bodies, the sirens began to blend with the pounding of their hearts. They grabbed hold of others, urging them to move, to escape the encroaching chaos. "Don't look back," David shouted, leading the way through the confusion. But even as they surged forward, David couldn't shake the feeling that the chaos ahead wasn't merely a backdrop, it was a mirror reflecting something deeper within themselves, a test of love, strength, and resilience that could forge their bond anew or threaten to unravel everything. What would emerge on the other side? And would they still be standing side by side when the dust settled? The noise intensified as David and Sarah pushed through the crowd. The urgency was electric, their efforts weaving through panic-stricken faces, desperate shouts, and the acrid scent of smoke. Each step resonated like a drumbeat in David's chest, an insistent reminder of the stakes. Over there. Sarah yelled again, spotting a young woman struggling under the weight of a small child. Panic was etched across the child's face, but the mother's determination was palpable. David rushed to help, bending down to lift the child carefully. "I've got you," he reassured, his voice firm but gentle. The little girl clung to him tightly, her small body shaking slightly. As David hoisted her up, he glanced over at Sarah, who was helping the mother regain her balance. They navigated through the swirling crowd, tightening their grip on the terrified child. The heat from the flames scorched the air around them, and David felt sweat trickle down his back, a symptom of both the physical exertion and the emotional weight of the chaos. "Stay close," he shouted to Sarah, whose eyes were searching for anyone else in need. She nodded, her jaw set in determination. They moved as a unit, her energy and resolve igniting a fire within him. The throng continued to press, and the sound of distant sirens morphed into a terrifying symphony, punctuated by shouts and cries for help. "Move! Get out of here!" came another voice, booming through the haze. The weight of urgency was heavy, almost tangible, as they tried to guide people to safety. A sudden cry pierced through the madness. David's heart dropped. Whirling around, he saw an older man struggling to lift a heavy piece of debris from a fallen storefront. Shadows flickered in the dancing light as he groaned in pain. "Help him!" Sarah shouted, already on the move. Without hesitating, David sprinted forward, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he felt the pull of the collective need, a voice in his heart urging him to act. He reached the man and gripped the edge of the debris with both hands. "On three, okay. 1, 2, 3. With a grunt, they heaved it aside. The look of relief on the man's face was almost enough to drown out the chaos around them. "Thank you." The man wheezed, scrambling out from beneath what had once been a doorway to safety. Just as David turned to rejoin Sarah, a deafening crash echoed behind them, a section of the building collapsing, the roar drowning out the cries and shouts for a fleeting moment. Dust erupted into the air and David stumbled back, catching his breath. "David!" He felt Sarah's hand wrap around his arm, pulling him back toward her. The sheer panic mirrored in her eyes flooded his mind with dread. "I can't," what if he started to say, but she cut him off, her voice urgent. "Look at me. We have to keep going. We can't lose hope." Her determination snapped something in him. As David stared into her eyes, he felt a shift, a deeper understanding. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about fighting together. The bond they had was growing, steeled by the chaos swirling around them. "Okay," he breathed, bolstered by their connection. "Let us keep moving." Together, they waded back into the chaos, minds set on saving as many as they could. But as they hurried from one person to another, the ground beneath them continued to quake, each tremor a reminder that not only were they fighting against the flames but also against their crumbling sanctuary, the world they thought they knew. Suddenly, a shadow fell across their path, a figure emerging, cloaked in smoke and urgency. "Help! Please!" A panicked voice rang out, and David's heart sank. It was a child, alone amidst the crush, eyes wide with fear. As the surrounding chaos pressed in, David made eye contact with Sarah. Would they find the strength to save yet another life? Without hesitation, they dashed towards the child, knowing their lives and perhaps their future depended on this moment of action. But what awaited them beyond the flames? Would they still be the same people they were before, or had the fire forged something new between them? The chaos seemed to pause as David and Sarah reached the frightened child. She looked so small amid the towering silhouettes of destruction, her innocence stark against the backdrop of flames and smoke. David dropped to one knee, eye level with the girl. "Hey, it's okay. We're here to help you," he said soothingly, extending a hand. "Where's my mom?" The little girl whimpered, eyes welling up with tears. "Just hold on to my hand tight," David urged, his own heart hammering in his chest as he glanced at Sarah. Her resolve mirrored his. She was already scanning the surroundings, her instincts kicking in. "Let us move together," Sarah said, taking the other side. The girl's tiny fingers wrapped around David's, and he felt the spark of something profound. It was not just survival now, it was love, the unyielding desire to protect, to nurture. "Follow us. We're going to get you to safety," he reassured, guiding the girl away from the sound of collapsing debris. With Sarah at his side, they moved through the crowd, every step measured but purposeful. David stayed aware of their surrounding turmoil, ready to react at a moment's notice. "Over here, we can duck behind those crates," Sarah shouted, motioning them towards a temporary refuge away from the danger. The girls stumbled but kept pace, driven by their unwavering determination. As they squeezed into the narrow space, a cacophony erupted, a roar of flames aggressively consuming the buildings around them. The fierce heat prickled their skin, and Sarah instinctively moved closer to the girl, wrapping her arms around her. David felt the weight of that togetherness. It was always about more than just survival, they were weaving a bond with every bit of bravery they displayed. "Do you see your mom anywhere?" David asked gently, maintaining an air of calm despite the turbulence encircling them. The girl shook her head helplessly, tears spilling down her cheeks. In that moment, David's heart ached not just for her but for every lost hope and broken dream represented in the uproar around them. "I'll find her," Sarah said suddenly, with fierce determination igniting in her eyes. "You stay here with her. I'll be right back." Without waiting for a response, she slipped out, moving toward the dense smoke, each step fearless and resolute. "Your mom is going to be okay," David assured the girl, kneeling down to meet her level. "She's a fighter, just like us." Moments stretched into an eternity as David clung to the child's hand, their breaths intertwined with the charges of fear and hope. Just then, he saw Sarah return, her face smeared with ash but filled with resolve. "David!" she called out, waving her arms to catch his attention. "I found her." From behind Sarah, a frantic woman rushed forward, collapsing into the embrace of her small daughter. The girl's eyes brightened, joy flooding through despair. "Mom!" she cried, running towards her. "Thank you. Thank you for finding her." The mother gasped, pulling David and Sarah into a grateful embrace. Their hearts surged with a shared relief, the realization that they had done something good amidst so much chaos. As they released each other, David locked eyes with Sarah, a moment of understanding passing between them. They were no longer just two people caught in a storm, they were warm light battling against the darkness. "We did it," David whispered, all the tension and fear fading into a swell of gratitude. But the waves of panic were far from over. The building groaned behind them, a looming reminder of the chaos that still surrounded. "We have to keep moving," Sarah said, the urgency back in her voice. United by their purpose, they steered the grateful mother and daughter toward safer ground, every step reaffirming their connection. As they emerged from the swirling chaos, the last remnants of daylight faded into the horizon, an era yielding to the unpredictable night. But in that darkness, a new light began to form within them, a fierce resolve born of compassion and camaraderie. When they finally made it a safe distance from the flames, they all paused, looking back at the inferno, a painful reminder of how quickly everything could change. "We need to help more people," David said resolutely, and together they turned back toward the flames, their hearts ignited by a collective sense of purpose. They plunged back into the haze, weaving through the crowd, ready to face whatever came next, side by side. With every encounter, every rescue, their hearts grew stronger, stitching together not just the lives they touched, but their own as well. In the throes of that disaster, something profound bonded David and Sarah, a love forged in the fire of adversity, resilient enough to face any storm. They emerged from the chaos, not just as survivors but as a family, forever changed and forever stronger, and with the smoke drifting behind them, they realized that together they could confront anything life threw their way. The night may have been dark, but they held the flicker of hope alive in their hands, ready to embrace the dawn. This is the moment for all of you watching. You need to subscribe now to witness more incredible transformations like David and Sarah's. leave a like now to feed the algorithm, so we can bring you more heartwarming stories. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending, and remember to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love.